Welcome. I'm Eric Hochstein from ChoiceWORX. Over the next few minutes, we're going to talk with some industry experts about the future of the enterprise service desk. Let's get started. With us to talk about the evolution of the service desk are three experts with great insights from their years of industry experience. Jeff Rumberg is the founder of MetricNet, a company which has the most comprehensive database of IT benchmarks in the world. David Wright is the Chief Value and Innovation Officer of the Service Desk Institute. He's an auditor and consultant with 20 years of BPO and ITO service management experience and business strategy experience. And Sam Gross is the founder and president of ChoiceWORX. Sam was previously a Chief Technology Officer and global outsourcing leader for companies such as CompuCom, Unisys, CSC, and Siemens. Gentlemen, welcome. David, let's start with you. Can you give us some context for the discussion and tell us some of the highlights of the past 10 years in the history of the service desk?
So I think, if you look at the last 10 years, adapting best practice frameworks, developing good practice through that sort of iterative thing, continuous improvement, that's been pretty much the mainstay of a good service for a long time. I think the challenges have been things like legacy states and legacy systems, loss of knowledge as staff move from the service desk, the introduction of new services, the effective management of and use of knowledge, mitigating human error has always been one of my big ones, process adherence, quality assurance, along with managing the customer's perspective as well, or perception of service, if you like, and the end user service as well, creating that consistently good service. So I think certainly over the last 10 years, the introduction of SaaS solutions, self-service, self-help, to encourage more self-serving experience for end users. That sort of means, that lower value workload, repeatable workload is shifted left into technology and automating processes like service requests, password resets, along with providing more of a sort of front-end searchable knowledge sort of proposition. So yeah, it's been a big 10 years, isn't it? Of late, I think the premise of assistive technologies and how virtual agents and all that new technology, AI maybe, will sort of change what that service proposition looks like again, from a reactive proposition to a proactive one. So self-remediation and all that wonderful stuff, along with the big, the recent buzzwords have been agile as well, and cost control and the move to creating value. I think that's quite a lot of stuff, but 10 years is a long time. So yeah, I think all that sort of in a melting pot.
So Jeff, based on what David has told us, do you think the service desks are performing better these days, and are the customer experiences getting better?
Eric, I absolutely feel like service desks worldwide and the customer experience is improving, and there's a number of reasons for that. One is that there's a lot more focus on the customer experience than there has been historically. 10 years ago, there was a lot of focus on technology without regard for how the customer might adopt the technology or react to that technology. Today, it's all about delivering the highest quality customer experience possible. Now, that manifests itself in a number of ways. One of them being that customers now have channel choice that they didn't have 10 years ago. They can interact through voice in many cases, chat, they can email a ticket in, they can web submit a ticket, or they can self-serve. Those are just some of the channels that are accessible to customers that weren't accessible to them 10 years ago. Also, there's an emphasis within service desks worldwide on first contact resolution, because it's now well understood that first contact resolution drives customer satisfaction. Now, that's enabled by knowledge. David mentioned that. It's enabled by effective training, and it's enabled by hiring a quality of resource that is capable of growing into the job and maturing to the point where they can deliver high first contact resolution rates. So customers care a lot more about getting that resolution on the first contact, whether it's in a voice channel or a chat channel, than they do about a quick speed of answer or a quick speed of response in chat. Mm-hmm. So I think the industry has evolved from being very technology-centric 10 years ago to being very customer-centric today. As a result, service desks worldwide are performing better and customers are having better experiences today.
Sam, you have the insights of a user from many of your experiences. Can you share some comments here, please?
Well, first, I certainly agree with Jeff's comments. I think both David and Jeff are really talking about the end user experience. I've spent, though, so many years in the provision of that service to the end user that I can't help but kind of look at the back end, the way that the service is actually delivered. And I'm actually still amazed that the delivery engine still looks fundamentally the same way it's looked for, I dare say, 20 years. And so this reliance on those agents, those people, that knowledge authoring, the vernacular that we've put around it, right? It'll created a vernacular, but it hasn't really changed what happens. The way that customers connect, that's changed. The images they see on the screen has changed, but the fundamental provisioning of a remediation has not changed in many, many, many years. And I think that it is time for that to change as well.
Jeff, do you agree?
I do agree that the way service has been delivered has fundamentally remained the same. There have been incremental improvements in the delivery of that service. We see that in the data, but there's no question that the labor-intensive delivery of the service has been largely the same. And unfortunately, we've not seen the uptake or the adoption rates in the self-help, self-service channel that we were hoping for. Today, average worldwide, only about 12% of customers are able to find a satisfactory self-service solution, despite the promise 20 years ago, I would say that none of us would have jobs today because everybody would be self-serving. So what's happened is that technology has outpaced the capability, or I should say the technology used by users has outpaced the capability of the self-help portals, and what we've not seen is a massive increase in self-help, self-service, which is what everyone was expecting 20 years ago. And so what we're not, fundamentally the service is being delivered the same way. We're getting better outcomes, but it's still a very labor-intensive industry. In our next segment, I'm sure we'll be touching on how that's going to change, but fundamentally we're still a very labor-intensive industry with relatively low adoption rates in the self-help, self-service channel.
David, do you see the need for an incremental change or more of a reinvention?
It's interesting. I mean, Jeff's absolutely right. You know, every organization I seem to go into, apart from a very few who've got it right, self-service, self-help is an unused channel. I think the proposition I mentioned earlier, the proposition of the service desk has always been reactive, and you know that was alluded to by Sam. If something's not working, then ring us, we'll fix it. And you know, the service desk is very human, and in many cases, much of that human time and effort is to fill the gaps between technology and process, because the technology can't do that. So if you think of password resets, if you think of, which is still a significant, you know, workload in many organizations as well. And if you look at the advent of self-service and the opportunity to shift some of that into technology, so high volume workload, repeatable, low value workload, it just enables humans to do more proactive stuff, to become more proactive, you know. Okay. So I think the service desk, depending on the organization, does have an opportunity to look at new technologies, new propositions, to create a more proactive proposition rather than looking backwards into into more of a reactive proposition. So harnessing assistive technologies, orchestrating service, augmenting service between humans and technology. I think that's the next stage, the evolution of the service desk.
Well, thank you. We've run out of time for this section. We'll come back in a moment and talk about the future of the service desk. Thanks very much.